To sit down with Saket again.
Hello, hello, everyone. We're so excited. We were talking about the time audit exercise we discussed. It's been interesting.
It's for those of you who did not watch the last week's sit down with Saket. What we really talked about was it started very organic discussion. I don't think we had intended for that to go that direction. We were talking about financial budgeting, and we took a concept of budgeting that I really believe in, not about your money. It's your most important resource, which is your time. Right. So instead of
Hmm.
thinking about and worrying about budgeting on money, you should budget for money. But if you were to pick a choice between the two, if somebody were to put a gun on my head and said, pick one or the other, I would pick budgeting my time. Because I know
Hmm.
if I can budget my time, if I value my time, I would do things that's going to give me access to capital, either through income or through businesses or through investments, doesn't matter what. And I'm a firm believer of just as a refresher of last topic, because we're going to go into a little bit more detail on Brooke's vulnerability. And thanks, Brooke, for opening it up on that. Is more around um, you budgeting is looked at more as an expense cutting exercise. That let me cut down my
Hmm.
caffeine, let me cut down my $7
And
Starbucks,
my Starbucks, my
whatever.
McDonald's sandwich, whatever
Correct.
it is.
Whatever your vices may be, I think the budgeting should be done on how can I increase my income. You should have some understanding of where your money is going, and if you're going crazy on your money spend, you should control that. But after a certain point, it becomes a penny wise pound foolish exercise, that to save $7 on Starbucks, you're going to go 20 miles out to get a $2 coffee. Now you're spending time driving and wasting gas, but you're not looking at that as a resource, right? So that's really where the concept was: budget your time, pay a little bit more importance on that versus worrying about where can I save single dollar in expenses, right? That's
Mhm.
not to say financial budgeting is not important, but I believe time budgeting is way more important. So
Absolutely.
I think it's actually an opportune time to talk about that, because today is June 19th, right? It's
Hmm.
about liberation. And I don't remember my own birthday, so I don't remember dates and I don't remember events, but it's a very important. And thank you, Brooke, for reminding me that today is June 19th, which is,
Hmm.
I think it's a perfect time to talk about how do we liberate ourselves from the
Hmm.
shackles that we are putting on ourselves. If
Hmm.
somebody else is put in a prison, you can complain about that, but if we are putting ourselves into prison, that's a shame, right?
It
Because we should
is.
be able to break free if this prison is if we have created our own prison.
But to
Uh,
break free, we have to know that we have. And that awareness is
completely,
the toughest part.
completely. So, Brooke, tell us what you found in your auditing exercise, time auditing.
Sure. So last week I said I'll have a play with this, and I felt that I was going to see a lot of time in Instagram, and sure I saw some time lost there. But the biggest waster of my time was not what I thought. So I will be sitting down at my computer, I'll be working or doing some things, and I will hear a very familiar sound. The sound of my cell phone ringing.
Mm.
Often with the same two clients' names. So I'll pick it up and say, "Hi, what do you need?" "I miss you," is the response. "I need to talk to you. I need to
Wait,
brainstorm
these
with
are your
you."
clients?
Yeah, I need to hear your opinion. So I'll say, "Okay, tell me what you're thinking." 48 minutes later, she's still talking about her
Mm.
goals, ideas, thoughts, and I'll get off the phone, usually about 60 minutes of time lost, and I'll sit down and I'll work again. And the same client will call again. And this literally happened. "I forgot to tell you part of what I thought." And so 30 minutes later,
Wow.
so as I was going through my day, I was trying to get stuff done. This is a day I'd intentionally set aside for a lot more back facing, writing, pitching sort of work, right? Within that day, I got 9 phone calls that were not scheduled.
Mm.
9 phone calls,
Same client?
different clients.
Okay.
But none of these phone calls were less than 30 minutes.
Mm. And
None.
these are all missing you call? Or there's urgent,
I need to tell you
important?
this. I have this idea. I want to
Got it.
tell you how the interview went, a vast range of things.
Sure.
Where I lose the most amount of time is not knowing how to effectively cut off somebody from a conversation that's not relevant. And so that
Mm,
got me thinking, how do we cut off people in a way that's tactful and kind and yet still direct? Because whenever I try to cut somebody off, they try to steamroll right over me. And so the next day I tried an exercise of, I have a meeting in 10 minutes. Not true.
yeah.
What a time saver to directly keep insisting that I had to get off within 15 minutes. Because up until I'd done this exercise, as silly as it sounds, I didn't realize how much time people were wasting of mine on the phone with
Yeah.
their own needs, their wants, their concerns. I have a dream to be on a billboard. I have a dream to be on the Ellen show, whatever it is. And when I told them, hey, you need to schedule a meeting if you want to talk about your hopes and your dreams, the response was, I can't wait until there's a meeting. I might
Mm,
forget it. And so this really convicted me as I was thinking, goodness gracious, I need to come up with a better way to quickly hear their dream, acknowledge their dream, make them feel seen, and get them off the phone. And so that's a practice I've been trying since last week.
mm.
And I'm not going to say that I'm perfect at it. But this client that consistently calls every day got her off in 22 minutes yesterday. And that
It's
was
an
such
improvement.
a
It's an improvement.
effective use. It was an improvement. Such an effective use to realize, gosh, I spend a lot of time on the phone and I don't like it. It's
Yeah.
not for my enjoyment. It's to make somebody else feel good. So that for me was actually quite liberating, as crazy as it sounds.
So thank you, Brooke, again for saying that. I love the purple cup there.
Yeah.
Question, if you can, about the
Yeah.
exercise itself.
Yeah.
How did that process feel? To be
Confronting. I would definitely say confronting in a good way, in a not bad way. I actually went to sleep earlier several days because I spent
mm,
a lot of time in the evening decompressing, which is super important. But I was just laying there tired and refusing to go to bed.
mm,
So that was something that I really noted. Another thing I really noted was kind of like time confetti, the little gaps of time we have in between tasks or activities or
yeah.
meetings that we're not utilizing. Another thing that came up for me was just generally speaking, how much time I spend like deciding if I want to wear makeup or not that day, deciding what I want to do with my hair. And I even thought, as far as my hair goes, I was like, gosh, I take a big 2 hour chunk out of my day when I do that. Maybe I should do that on weekends, not weekdays.
Mm,
So just some awareness came up, but it is confronting to say to yourself, I've been letting people run over my boundaries, or I've been letting people keep me on the phone too long. And how do I correct that? Was the question I asked myself.
yeah. And
Mhm.
I loved how you said that, right? Because I think it's very important to, you can't fix your issues unless you're ready to face them, right?
And it's a bit confronting.
Because I could have told you, if I were to tell you, like, you know
Yeah.
what, hey, you may be wasting a lot of time just talking to people about letting them talk, because that's your job, right? As a PR person, that's what you're good at, and
Mhm.
that's what people are calling you for, and that's why you are who you are.
Right.
But also there may be boundary issue. So, and if I were to, I'm not saying I knew that already, but if I were to tell you, you're like, F you, Saket. What do you know about me?
I would have said, how would I get them off? They just want to share their hopes. They just want to
Yeah, and
share their
why would
dreams.
I?
But there's a way to do that in a
Yeah,
smaller time frame.
100%. So I think this is where, and this is a great example, because when I look at my own time on this, I do this exercise routinely, but the first time I did it
Mhm.
was about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and I did it in 15-minute increments.
Mhm.
I was depressed for like 5 days. I tracked it for the entire week. I'm like, and I'm complaining I don't have time.
See, that's funny. That was not my experience.
I'm glad it wasn't. So I think it
So
it
my
sums out.
experience was more around righteous anger. If you're
So,
familiar with the term righteous anger,
mm,
righteous anger for how I've been letting people abuse my time.
correct,
Because a lot of
correct.
my time issues, and this is not reflective of everybody, a lot of my time issues were around other people
Yeah,
wanting my time. That's
because
that's like an that's
they're
an eldest
unfortunately,
daughter, eldest granddaughter, eldest everything problem. Um,
yeah,
please don't do this all the time. Hey, if you come over, I can't spend 4 hours talking to you. I still have I have things to do. And so sometimes it could be your own family. And for me, again, that's a big deal because my family is very intertwined. So it's
And you
saying,
have a big family.
hey,
I remember you were telling me you have a pretty big
yeah,
family.
like, hey, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but when you show up unannounced for 4 hours, I can talk to you for 30 minutes and then I have stuff to do.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's saying, how have I been letting other people take advantage of my time in a way that doesn't feel juicy, it doesn't feel good, and it doesn't add to my life?
So let's actually talk this further. And thank you again, Brooke, for doing this
Yeah.
excellent showing up open.
Well, I hope it's helpful since I broke my ring light. I gotta bring something good to this
That's
conversation.
completely, I think this is a good conversation, but let's go forward with it, right? So some of you may be thinking, so what? But I'm getting paid for being interrupted because that's my job, right? It is your job, especially if you're in that job, and you need to respect that. However, let's think through that. You said a few things which are important before we go to this, before we get break it down a little bit further, which is you had carved out time to do something with the time, right? Which is
Mhm,
going to be your thinking time, your creative time, right?
mhm,
The problem which happens with interruptions is not the 20 minutes. 20 minutes is fine, 5 minutes is fine. You could just say, I just want to talk to you for 5 minutes. I mean, how many times have each of us saying, hey, can I just really quick pick your brain? I hate that word. But why do you want to pick my brain? Just set up a meeting and have a conversation. And
mm,
we can talk about that because what happens in that 5 minute is not just 5 minutes. According to that person, they only may have taken 5 minutes of my time. But I had to stop doing whatever I was doing.
mhm,
Now I spent 5 minutes thinking about stuff that I didn't plan to think about. And
mhm,
now I have to reset my mind to think about exactly what I wanted to do with that time. And
mhm.
as you start to age, I'm realizing it, context switching, while you may be great at it, it takes more and more time.
And it takes energy, and we
It's
only have
energy.
so much of that.
It's draining. It's draining, right? I mean, I tell my wife all she's like, you can multitask. I'm like, I don't think anyone can multitask. I think women, I'm giving them the credit, is they're probably good at faster at context switching than me.
Very
I can give it to
fast.
my wife, right? You can context switch back and forth continuously. I can't. So if you're in that category where context switching is harder, reflect on your time, the interruptions that you're having in your day. How is that affecting you? Are you feeling more tired, more drained? While you may
And
think
I
you're
would add irritable to that, because
irritable,
too much
right?
context
Yeah,
switching will make me fairly angry,
correct.
fairly quickly.
Because in the end, you may have helped 20 people, but you didn't accomplish what you really wanted to accomplish that day. So your day is no
Mhm.
longer yours, right? And what do we want
Yes.
to do at the end of the day? We set out to do three things. Did we do them? The check
Mhm,
box is actually a comfort feeling saying I did
mhm.
something with my time, right? So if you're in that category like Brooke, my recommendation, and this is completely coming out of my own brain, I adopt that, is to say that I no longer have an executive assistant right now. It's I'm in between executive assistants, as we say. But when I had, I'm like, you know what? These are the times, unless someone's dying or the business is going to go to bankruptcy, do not disturb me, period.
Right.
No meetings are going to happen here. No conversations. You don't ping me. Nobody pings me. This is protected. 9 to 12, whatever the time was. I think I picked it like 9 to 12. I'm like, this is the time. It's for me to be alone with me.
Mhm.
And I'm okay wasting my time if that's what I want to do that time. But that time, no one interrupts me. Right.
Right. For a
And
lot of people, I think their workout routine can be that time. I know
it
that's
could be
very
that
much for
time,
me.
right? Do not take a phone call when you're on the treadmill. Do not, because you may be
How
thinking
many
you're
times have we all
multitasking.
done that? It's terrible.
Don't do that because you're focused on that one act. Do one activity right 100%.
Mhm,
And you're not just doing workout to build your muscles, to build your endurance. You're also doing it to decompress. If you're not adding work on top of it, and it's going to give you more stress, that workout, your physical workout, is not going to be that effective anyways. Which is true for any activity you do. If you're with your kids, do not take a work call. Anything that could wait for that time, chances are it can wait for another hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. The problem is these. there's people, and I'm including myself into that, is that everything is urgent. Everything is catastrophic. If I don't tell Brooke that now, I can't live with myself because I've not learned how to be patient, right? Because
Mhm.
what's happening in this whole, and Brooke, we'll use you as an example, but it's probably applicable to me, it's applicable to a lot of people, is
Mhm.
we think that our job as a service provider is to give them everything we have,
Mhm.
which
Or
is
to
fine.
make their life better versus
Make life
enhance
better,
their already good life.
right?
Fixing versus enhancing is a big thing
Yeah.
for a lot of business
And you're
owners.
not helping, in your case, this client, you're actually not helping them by
Mhm.
answering their call every time, chances are, because they're using you to think,
Mhm.
right? And that's not enabling them to progress. Chances are, like when I was a consultant, I remember, if the client can come up with their own answer without talking to me, I've done my job, right?
Correct. Correct.
And
Because then
now
they're able to succeed without you.
without you, and it's a hard thing to think as a small business and service client that I am taking myself out of a job, right? Which is fine, but your job as a service provider is to enhance somebody else's life, not make them dependent on you. And here's a why. Here's a big reason why. There's only so much value you can add to a single client. At some point, they're going to realize, you're going to realize you can't enhance their life anymore. They have graduated you, or you have graduated them. One of those things are going to happen. At that point, you need somebody else, right? You need more clients. You need more people to work with, to make sure you're staying
Mhm.
motivated. If you have the same client who's always calling you at 12 o'clock in the night because they can't sleep because of something that's bothering them, unless they're paying you $1 million, I'm pretty sure that can wait, for them and for you, right? I'm pretty sure it can wait. Most 90% of the cases it can wait.
Yeah.
But they can't wait is because we haven't trained them to wait, right? We're training them to say, you can call me anytime you want, and I'm at your beck and call. I'm going to pick up the phone, and you're going to see a responsive broker, a responsive socket, a responsive John, whoever you are. If you're not training them, they're training you. This is what's happening in these conversations where, if you have teams, if you have a spouse, if you have a kid, if you have anybody, if you don't protect your time, they will protect their time. Because what they're saying is in this conversation, Brooke, is, Brooke, my time is way important to write down thoughts because I will forget it. So I value
Mhm.
my limitations way more than your time.
Correct.
That's a
And that's the big
subliminal
thing for all
message.
service providers and any
All,
business owner.
all right. I was talking to, we're acquiring a company right now. And we're talking about the one of the service like being responsive is important, but
Absolutely.
stopping everything and addressing their issue is not important.
No.
We need to acknowledge you called me. I understand. I'm going to get back to you in 3 hours, unless it's
Mhm.
very urgent, unless it's catastrophic. And within, maybe they don't understand the definition of that. And that's going to be a conversation that your client and
Mhm.
you can have, saying that, you know what you called me for last time, I told you if it's very urgent, but I had to drop everything. Things like that can eventually wait. You can write them down
Mhm.
if you're afraid of. You can do a voice recording if you feel that you're going to forget it.
Right.
But you have to enable them in a, not you. I'm not talking you as in you, but in a
Right.
it's a metaphorical you, where if you're feeling that you're getting interrupted, you got to set your own boundaries. And if you don't
Mhm.
set your boundaries, you don't respect your time. Nobody
No.
else is going to respect your time, right? And the
Mhm.
time that we have to think. There's a great book. I forgot who wrote it. It's called Deep Work, right?
Mhm.
There's a mentor of mine 5 or 6 years ago. He told me the best way to think, and we may have talked at a different sit down with Sakis before, the best way to think creatively is to stare at a blank wall.
That's interesting.
Like, you don't want to have a focus. You go in with an intention saying, I want to try and figure out this problem. And that's it. You shut your book down, you shut your noise down. There's no music, there's nothing. You're just staring into
Mhm.
nothingness.
Yeah.
That's when the most creative thoughts will come in.
That's fun.
But what do we do? We're saying, let me listen to music, let me listen to a podcast. The thinking time, we're not really giving ourselves time to think. Well,
Mhm.
and this actually happened to me. I didn't realize until my wife left for school full time. I had 4 hours or 5 hours of work day where before I drop off my kids to school and I come back and I pick them up. And in between food and everything else had to be sorted out. I really had 4 or 5 hours. I'm like, I am doing a lot, but I'm not moving the needle.
Mhm.
I'm just doing busy work, right? I think you and I have talked about, Brooke, is I'm going to have to start saying no to a few things because
Right.
it's making me busy, but is it moving me the direction where I need to go to? And I realized the only way to do that is I need time to think.
Mhm.
And I don't know about any of you guys. I'm 47 now. It takes me an hour to to get into the mode to start to think.
Yeah.
And if I don't protect that hour and I get interrupted, I need another hour now to just start to think, right? And
Mhm.
then to
And that's
get
not
in the
even the
mode.
deeper levels of thinking.
That's not even thinking. The thinking may last for 10 minutes or an hour. I have no idea. But to even train my brain to calm down, to be able to start thinking, it takes me time now, right? It could be age, I could be slowing down. I don't know what's going on, but that's my reality. And I'm not going to fight it. That's who I am. If you are in a certain similar situation where it takes time for you to focus, and that focus requires attention and dedication, you really, really, really need to think hard. How are you protecting that hour of focus time, right?
Mhm.
Let's say it takes you 10 minutes and you want to schedule 30 minutes of think time. Schedule 10 minutes before your focus and 10 minutes after your focus, and just keep that time sacred.
Right.
Unless someone's dying,
Then
unless
in which case,
something you,
obviously,
you need to jump
move from
on, you
what
need
you
to do
said.
whatever you need to do, right? And
Yeah.
I'm using dying as a very extreme example. Unless
Mhm.
something is going to happen so bad that you can't reverse the damage,
Right.
right? Then, yeah, figure out a way how to structure that.
And then sit down and figure out what that bad really is. Is it somebody's hurt feelings? Because I know
Right?
I've quantified that as really bad. That's not always really bad.
Not
Is
bad.
it someone
No.
feels upset? Is it, figure out what that looks like and
Right.
feels like to you.
And it's important, right? For everyone, the answer is going to be different. And you may realize your day is structured such a way that you cannot get a focused, dedicated time.
Mhm.
The stuff that, like your PR thing, unexpected things happen. Now, this person may have gotten trapped into the boy who called wolf trap. That
Right.
if they really really need something, chances are you may think, oh, this person is calling again. They need to talk to me for another 30 minutes, right? It's
Mhm.
unfortunate, but your job is something you may not control interruptions for most days
Right.
because
Some days, yeah.
that's where you're getting, that's where you're offering the clients that any problem I'm here to resolve, right? At least the
Mhm.
public relation problem. But if you're not in that job, and if you're in that kind of job, then you may have to figure out, I need to protect my evenings because
Correct.
that's where I do the most amount of creative thinking because I
Mhm.
can't control what happens in the day. You may not. You may not be able to control your Monday and Tuesday, but you may be able to control your Wednesday.
Mhm.
Don't
And
go
it's figuring
against
out
the
what works
grain.
for you.
Don't go against the grain saying, no, I need to protect every 9 to 10 or 9 to 12. That works for me because that's how I've structured my business. But find out what works for you and protect that. And if you're doing a 15-minute audit and you say that I stare at wall for 4 hours and I'm wasting my time, let me tell you, it's not wasting your time.
And
It's
the answers
actually
may
not.
not come immediately,
It may
which is
not.
another thing to talk about. They can take a little bit of time.
It may. It may. That may feel unproductive, but it's better than watching Netflix for 4 hours and not giving your brain time to think at all.
Mhm.
Right? Read that book, Deep Work, and read. And Keith
Mhm.
Cunningham is a mentor of mine. He talks a lot about thinking time.
Mhm.
If you want to be successful in life and in business and make money, which you should, I want you to make tons of money, you have to protect your time. You
Mhm.
have to be able to think because it's not about you working for 24 hours a day. You can work for 1 hour a day but if you can make that 1 hour count.
Mhm.
Uh, Don't equate busyness with productivity. We
Mm-mm.
need to be productive with that time, right? So when
Mhm.
I said that 15-minute increment, it's really to get to a point. How can you give yourself 2, 3 hours of time to think? It's
Mhm.
not about how can I add more? That wasn't the goal. The goal
No.
is do that auditing and figure out, can I cut down these 5 things from my calendar, from my life, that if I do less of them, that I can free up the time to think and add value to people's life, because that's going to give you money. It's not
And
going to
bind it to
be,
your own life, so you can think about anything that would make your life improve.
doesn't matter. You don't have to say that I want to make more money. What do I do with business? It could be a relationship concern. Right? It could be how to raise kids. It could be,
Could be
you know,
a self-betterment concern, it could really be
it could be
anything.
anything. But you need time to think. If you don't think, how are you going to improve? You can't. Your life or somebody else's. The only thing that we got is the only difference between us and chimpanzee is 0.99, 0.11%. And the only thing is brain. So
Mhm.
if that's the difference between chimpanzee and human beings, that's the only difference, then why not use it? Right?
Right.
It's a cognitive ability. So I would say that put more emphasis on that. Um, I love this conversation. I love this aspect. I'm
It's gone
trying
an
to be better
interesting
at that.
route, hasn't it?
It always is, right? Kind of like this is
Yeah.
where I think the challenge is, most people don't talk about this because you can't make money talking about this.
Mhm.
I can tell you, let me help you figure out your budget. Pay me $5,000.
Right.
Let me help you figure out thinking time.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of money in that because most people won't pay
No, but there should
$5,000.
be, because it's such a crucial thing.
It's a crucial thing, but you don't need to pay anybody $5,000 to audit your time.
Mhm.
Maybe finances you're not comfortable with, but time, well, you should be able to manage your own time, right? Arguably. And all of us don't, including me. I told you my addiction is YouTube Shorts. I'm still trying to recover from that.
He's recovering.
I'm not perfect. I have no issues in accepting it. I'm continuously making improvement. Excuse me. So I will definitely encourage you to continue auditing, right?
Mhm.
Or give it few more weeks, few more days, whatever your stretch limit is. And if you encounter something, hit it heads on,
Right.
right? And you may not know the answer. Talk to somebody, get on a conversation with a friend. Hopefully, all of you have a support group around you that is not all about drinking and partying and smoking. It's actually more deeper, that everyone's there to elevate somebody else, right?
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean that partying is wrong, fun is wrong. You can all of that stuff, but a lot of the ecosystem around you there has to be an ascension aspect, that with
Mhm.
that association, I'm becoming a better person.
Right.
No, it could be
Mhm.
over drinks, it could be over smokes, it could be whatever. That's your choice. I'm not here to judge you and tell you what to do. But if you don't have that person in your life, find that person.
And book a call. You knew I was gonna say that.
Oh, definitely. Or book a call, book a conversation. If I can help you, come talk to me. This is I want to be there to make sure that you're able to not just make money, but become a better person.
Mhm. In the
Yes,
process of making more money.
and that you will make more money.
And it's a byproduct of becoming a more integrated whole human being.
It is. I mean, we just launched a podcast. I think it should be coming out today with a very good friend of mine, Nathan, who is teaching this ancient Indonesian martial arts. A lot of that is breath work, and it was only reserved for the royal families of Indonesia. And I encourage you to listen to the podcast. It's actually a great
Absolutely.
podcast. The whole focus was, if you're not connected with who you are internally, how are you going to make an impact outside? You're not going to.
Mhm.
It's going to be a false hope, and it may happen by accident, but you're not architecting the outside world unless you're able to control and manifest the inside world to your maximum potential. You're not going to.
That's a cliff note right there. That's good.
So we should end that, because I think this is a topic I could talk forever, and I'm going to start rambling at this point. So we should definitely respect people's time and your time, Brooke. So thank you again for coming on. Appreciate that. Feel free to book a call. It's
Yeah.
complimentary, as I say always. The first call is
And
always
it's a
complimentary.
judgmental, not non-judgmental, it's a judgment-free space, which is so important when you're thinking about this.
Yes,
These exercises are not intended to make you feel bad about yourself. They're
No.
intended to reveal the parts of yourself that maybe you've been neglecting or not acknowledging.
And I'm realizing I'm raising my own kids, I'm realizing more and more it's important for people to reflect. I was watching, just as a parting comment, Alex Hermosi. If those of you don't
Mhm,
know, he's a very he launched gym launch acquisition.com. His wife's video came up today, and I was listening to his wife, and she was saying, when I was doing some YouTube videos, I saw 10 pages of comments, and everyone had an issue, had a comment not about how good or bad the video was, is how I look, how I talk, how I do this, how my voice, and all that stuff. She said that I talked to Alex about it, and Alex asked me a question. Well, is there any truth to it for you? Do you have a problem? Do you think you have a problem with your voice? She's like, yeah, I do think that I have a little bit deeper voice than most women. He's like, then why you bother by the comment? They're telling you the truth. So she's like, that's such liberation. That's such a liberating feeling. I'm paraphrasing her words, but knowing my own truth liberated me in her case,
mhm.
which
To
is
make you feel better, not worse, which is
not
the
worse.
crucial part of what we're saying.
So having these conversations and reflecting on your weaknesses is actually going to make you free. If I said that I'm perfect and I'm wasting 20 minutes on YouTube videos in the morning, YouTube shorts, I'd be lying myself. Right? If then my wife tells me I'm wasting 30 minutes on YouTube shorts, I'll probably get irritated
Mhm,
because I'll think that as, oh, you don't respect, you're telling me what to do with my life. But no, she's just telling me what the truth is. I already
mhm,
know I'm wasting 30 minutes. I've acknowledged it. I've baselined it. So now if anyone tells me I'm wasting it, like, you're right, I'm wasting it. I'm trying to
mhm,
figure it out. Do you have any ideas how do I get over it?
mhm. Versus being triggered.
Versus being triggered. Most of us are reactive because we don't know our own truth, and we don't want to accept and embrace our own truth. Well, on that note, I think this is probably going to be the longest sit down with Sakis that we've
But
had.
it was a
Very
good
important
one.
topic. Hopefully, you got value from that. Thank you again, Brooke.
Well, I had a lot of fun, and I hope everyone else did too.
And thank you for doing the exercise. I think that's
Oh,
what we
yeah,
should
we'll
do
have
about.
to see. I'll have to continue on and see how it goes.
We should use you as a guinea pig all the time now.
We can do it all the time. I'd love
All
to.
right. Well, thank you again for tuning in. Feel free to book a call. I have the QR code here. It doesn't cost anything. So if you feel like I'm gonna be able to help you, or if you need an ear to listen to, I'm not a therapist, so don't call me for issues that a therapist can help. But I'm more than happy to have a brainstorming session with you. All
Yes.
right. Well, thank you again, everybody.
And thank you for joining us.